Hey, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Hyperbaby podcast. Thanks for joining us. Today we have a special guest. Aaron Matuszeski is with us today. He is our longtime friend and collaborator on Wheel of Cheese Productions. How's it
Hello,
going,
everyone.
Aaron?
Oh, I'm doing great. How are you guys doing tonight?
Doing fantastic.
Good.
So, Wheel of Cheese Adventures. That's what we're here to
Yes.
talk about.
What is Wheel of Cheese Adventures? Who wants to take that one? So Aaron and I knew each other in high school, and we rekindled our relationship. And we are currently really in the throes of Dungeons and Dragons creativity. We're really enjoying that.
Right. It's like a renaissance.
It's
right?
a renaissance of Dungeons and Dragons, and it's a good time because Dungeons and Dragons is really popular right now. So we,
Absolutely.
as some friends, decided to get together and do some playing. That kind of escalated into wanting to be dungeon masters, and now Wheel of Cheese is actually our platform for writing some adventures.
Absolutely. So our job today is to bring everybody together to get to know Aaron and to get to know what we're doing with Wheel of Cheese. So we're going to start out with maybe asking Aaron a few questions so you guys can get to know him. All right. Are you up for it, Aaron?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys. I'm excited to talk about this, and it's just fun getting something out there so people can kind of hear our passion and our vision on what we're trying to do.
Fantastic.
Absolutely.
Right.
So Aaron, what is your day job?
Well, right now, obviously my day job is affected just like quite a few percentages of the world. However, I'm a strength and conditioning coach. I'm also a personal trainer. And then I do fitness classes at some different facilities in La Crosse, Wisconsin.
Very nice. Very nice.
Fantastic. So you're kind of like that barbarian character, right? You embody all those traits in one.
So many muscles.
I don't think that most of my fitness clientele are too D&D savvy, unfortunately, but they probably would say that, yeah, Aaron has some barbarian rage in him. So absolutely, I probably do freak out for a couple rounds and do some extra damage, but I try to keep that under wraps.
I have noticed, though, with you, I think the DM job is a really good fit for you because you do bring a lot of your coaching mentality to the table, which is very appropriate. When you've got a bunch of people that maybe don't work well together or they don't know the next step, then sometimes you need a coach in the room to kind of help you along. So I can see that growing in you. I think it's a good fit.
Thank you. That's a huge compliment, actually, because, as a strength coach, you're dealing with a lot of younger kids that may feel uncomfortable in a situation, set up with a bunch of seniors and upperclassmen. D&D can be the same thing. When you're a newcomer, you can feel really shy and awkward about role playing and putting yourself out there. So hopefully, as a DM, my job is to make them comfortable and let them kind of find their inner voice with their character. And hopefully, yeah, there's some crossover as a coach there. So I'm glad you brought that up.
You bet, man. I think that's a really good point, for anybody out there listening that doesn't know what D&D is or maybe is too afraid to try it because it's either too many rules or it looks too complicated or they don't think they're smart enough to try it. And that's really the magic of Dungeons and Dragons, I think, is that it can be anything for anyone. And, you can play it by down to the last rule, or you can play it with fewer rules. And it really makes it a kind of a super flexible thing. And if you have people that you enjoy spending time with, it can really add to the experience, I think, of having a really good party and a dungeon master, obviously.
That's totally right. I'm very much a rookie dungeon master at the moment. I'm learning as much as I can. You guys have both played with me. All my friends talked about how accepting and helpful you guys were. Amy, all the females that played were like, wow, she is so nice and she is so helpful. And Chris, you're dead on. You jump in wherever you want. You apply the rules that fit and make the game fun for you. And we're not there to rule lawyer or really kind of limit people in what they can do. We want to make great memories and have good times, and we collectively as a group decide what rules really kind of outline and structure our game. So you can know them all, or you can know two basic ones and have a great time with D&D.
Yep.
Absolutely. I was just going to double down on that. I think the beauty of D&D is really who you play with. So if you've had a bad experience, chances are it's because you were with, unfortunately, a bad group. But if you get the right group, I mean, that really is the best.
Yep.
It's the best experience.
Yep. So the one thing I kind of want to focus on is, you're making a transition from personal trainer to dungeon master. And there's also another key element that I noticed in you, because I've actually taken personal training classes from you, and a lot of what you do is keeping it fresh for people. Because as you and I know, working on our bodies for so long, it can get stale, right? So, I can see that element of creativity that you use from your personal training time and applying it to D&D. How do you like the transition now that you've got all this creativity to apply to a different kind of craft?
Gosh, you guys are flattering the heck out of me tonight, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
We have to. You're a first guess.
Best guess. Thank you.
Yeah. Did you say last guest?
No, I said best guess. Best guess. Excuse me. No, never last guess. That's a great question, and I'm going to be honest with you. Every road I've taken in my life has been really the non-traditional path. I went in the military after high school. I got my graduate degree when I was 33 years old amongst all these younger people. I don't travel the road most taken in anything I do. So I don't really believe in transition so much as I believe in what lesson in your life can you use and apply on the next evolution of what you're doing. So to get to your question, to answer your question, I love the ability to be creative with my players. I agree. Staleness is boring, and no one wants to do the same thing. And of course, every idea, whether it be in writing or music or film, is already been used. But how can I twist that? How can I make that my own? How can I make that interesting? How can I know my players well enough to to basically apply that to their lives and say, wow, that's a meaningful twist for me or my character. And that really got me excited. You got to have a little creativity, and you got to pay attention to who your audience is. And you just got to do a little thinking beforehand and make it special for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I found kind of, getting away from that mentality of recreating yourself and just continuing, like the one thing that is that unique catalyst in creativity is you. So I kind of looked at that differently the older I've gotten, with, the things that I interpret and then the art that I produce, really the defining factor in what it becomes is me. And understanding that more and more as I get older is really kind of an exciting thing. So, like with what we're doing with Wheel of Cheese and creating these adventures in writing, I haven't seriously done this form of writing in a long, long time. And it's been super exciting for me. The stuff that's been coming through me, whether it gets published or not, it's just been a really enjoyable process. And, finding that we can work together and publish some of this stuff, I'm excited for people to see what we come up with. That's kind of where I'm at.
I am too. And we were talking beforehand, before the podcast, about I've been creating terrain for my D&D campaigns. We were talking about Amy, and her love, and I didn't know this, for audiovisual stuff. And now doing these podcasts, she's doing an extra facet of herself that she loves, which is amazing. That's so cool, right?
Yeah.
It is really neat to be able to finally get to explore areas that you've kind of dabbled in before, or you thought, well, I like this as a hobby, but maybe won't get a chance to explore it. So it's been really exciting for me too.
Yeah, a bit of that is putting yourself out there and taking that chance. I think, I don't know if we talked about it, but part of like growing older is feeling that anchor that weighs you down get heavier and heavier, with your responsibility, and you don't always get that chance to explore. But part of this podcast and part of what we want Hyperbaby to do is to really focus on creative outlets and show people that, if you have something, go for it, because every day's a new day, man.
That's huge. I was terrified to DM for you guys my first time with a big group. I was extremely nervous. And I've got a little anxiety, and I won't get into that, and that's fine. This is a great outlet to help with that. But everyone was super cool. And yes, we have talked about that in regards to growing older. And I believe you guys both, Amy especially, talked about, I don't want to look back when I'm 70 or 80 and say, man, I missed that opportunity to try this. Why aren't we going for it? You guys have been huge in that aspect of, I've always wanted to write. And you guys gave me a little bit of a focus here and kind of the nudge off the cliff, a healthy one,
You were
a
pushing people
nurturing.
to their doom.
Yeah. I want to make sure that everyone out there knows that Hyperbaby Studios and Wheel of Cheese Productions is a nurturing and is a friendship business. It's about how can we help each other, and that's huge.
Yeah, man. So talking about like D&D and how it creates lasting memories, do you have a favorite story that you want to share, like a campaign story about something that sticks in your mind about playing D&D?
Oh yeah, I have one that I always remember when we were young. So Chris and I grew up in the 2E the second edition era. Amy, you said you played with your family. What edition did you guys play with when you started?
Yeah, that would have been about right, 2E, because I don't think, I mean, we were playing in the late 80s, mid 80s.
Okay.
Yeah. 2E was like 989 or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Right. And Steve Kolstrom, Steve, our DM at the time, he was tough, but for some reason he made a campaign that really revolved around my character. And I was always the goody paladin, and all my friends were a little bit more on the evil side of a line. Not so much evil, maybe a little more chaotic good to chaotic neutral. They liked to mess with me because I was the goody church boy, and I get that. But yeah, Steve had given me this really powerful artifact, an intelligent longsword as a paladin, and we were just slicing through enemies like crazy. But this longsword also took away an item every time it had to use its magic from my group of friends, and my group of friends stole my longsword. But that campaign went on for a long time, and there was a lot of emotional highs and lows and just fun memories about that. And I didn't like the way it ended because they stole my longsword and they basically threw it into a plane of oblivion where I could never find it again. And boy, was I pissed. But it's not all about me. It's about the party. And now looking back, even though they did something kind of scandalous in my eyes, I think that made the memory all the better. I mean, that really sticks out, and that's true to life, right? You can't just be a party for one hero. That's the whole part of working as a group.
It's kind of like a toxic relationship, and we were just trying to save you from the sword.
Like having a bad girlfriend at the time.
Like, it's going to be a bad marriage. No, save him.
But the sword was so attractive. I just, yeah.
And we all spent so much time trying to help you find it. Like I just remember, we went through hell to get that thing. And
you guys were champs in that.
And all that. Man, you had a lot of trials and tribulations on that one.
I had my own individual mount, and that one was about me. And it's not my favorite because it was about me. It's my favorite just because we have so many lasting memories and so many laughs and maybe a few gurs and fist pumps to each other, but it's all in good fun.
Right. Should we explain where Wheel of Cheese came from?
Please. I've been doing all the talking. You guys, I love this story. Go ahead.
Well, I'll probably tell it wrong, but we're going to have to name drop again. And this involves Luke Bassuener. I think he is the original instigator of this idea. Luke was, if you know Luke at the time, he was a bit of a card in a cut up. Like, I think he came to the table with intentions on just, being as silly and having as much fun as possible. And, that's definitely a side of Dungeons and Dragons you can play. You don't have to be serious and by the rules. And, I think a little bit of him read the room and came to it like, I don't really know what's going on, so I'm just going to be myself and do what I want. And part of Dungeons and Dragons, if you're not familiar, is preparing your character in the beginning. And it's pretty much you want to get the equipment that you think you're going to need when you go on the adventure. So the common ones are rope, starting fires, rations, things like that.
Right.
And we always look through the player's handbook, and there was a large wheel of cheese you could buy. Maybe it was like 20 or 50 pounds or something. It was ridiculously big.
Right.
And someone got the idea that if you rolled it down a dungeon hallway, it would set off traps. And Luke, he bought this cheese just for the intention of one day that would work for him. He would try it and try it again, and it would never work. And then I think eventually Steve played along and allowed it to work for him, but he was always about rolling that giant wheel of cheese down the dungeon to set off traps. And I think, if I remember correctly, it pissed us off a lot because we're like, Luke, you don't have anything else in your inventory. It's all Luke, I don't care. I want my
Luke, do you want a weapon? No, I want my cheese.
Yes, I think after a while it caught on, and like other people in the party were doing it, and it was just chaos after that.
Yes, you nailed it. We were getting angry because Luke really stuck to that concept, and Steve just threw him a bone one day, and it set off a fireball trap, and we had 50 pounds of melted cheese, and it was beautiful and hilarious. And Luke finally just gave us this look of triumph, like, I told you so. And
sucker,
yup, and we all owed Luke our lives after that, and thank God for Wheels of Cheese, right?
Pretty much. He could have spun off and done a whole culinary, like, player's handbook on foods that could be used. I don't know. I see an opportunity missed there.
Fondue would have been a very popular one in his book. I totally agree. Yes.
Fondue for dragons.
I think what I love about the story is that it's so iconic. You told your future wife, and so it became something in our lives. So it grew from just this game you had played as a kid to something I knew from our relationship. Right. You know what I mean? It had grown more than just that one moment in that game. Yeah. It had become sort of this synonym with just having fun and being crazy.
Well, one thing I always talk about, Aaron, too, is like, you know, it hit us at a time in our lives that I think we all needed something stable. Like, you know, we didn't really have the roughest of teenage lives, but I mean, that's all relative, right? And I think, you know, we were all looking for identity and all this stuff at the same time. And man, like, I remember like just loving to go to Colstrom's house. That was my like oasis from all the crap in school and all my own personal drama and, you know, all this stuff. I always went there, and it was like solace, you know. It was like quiet peace. And then I knew someone's going to piss somebody off, and we're going to have a fun time and have some laughs. And there was always certain proportions of good emotion that you're going to get. It was just reliable.
We had a good group of people too that went with us, and back then when we were in high school, playing D&D wasn't really something you shouted from the mountaintops. I mean, I've never been ashamed of it, but a lot of people didn't really get it, and it definitely wasn't as chic or in as it is now. So we had this group that did something special that no one else was doing, and there was a joy in that. In regards to, we understood and we made inside jokes about our party. You know, the wheel of cheese. Amy, I have to laugh at what you said in regards to the fact that this story has carried over, because when I played with my girlfriend at the time, anytime I would mention Luke, she would ask, well, is he the wheel of cheese guy? So that was his, that was his surname. And I said, yes, that is the wheel of cheese guy. So yeah, I mean, we're already world renowned, right?
Luke is an urban legend. That jerk.
Yeah, he is. When we make it big, hopefully he doesn't sue us later for trademark abuse, right?
No, we'll put a link to Asumaya in the bottom and just say, hey, Luke, check out his music. Luke, by the way, is in he's kind of a one-man band. He performs some pretty interesting music, and he's an artist. So
dude's amazing at everything he does. Put a link in the bottom, and you should check him out. He's a really talented, creative person. Absolutely. The stuff that he can do with a looper pedal and some jams just on his own. The guy has a mind for music and art, for sure. And cheese in large quantities, so watch out. Absolutely. Most important role. So changing the vector a little bit here, like, what about creating an adventure really appealed to you or appeals to you? I love the autonomy, but there are so many good ideas out there that you can mix and match them and put in your own spice and your own flavor. Like I said, getting to know your players, but that autonomy, and it's this is going to sound really almost power hungry and almost scary, but it's like, man, you get to create. I mean, you have a blank slate and you have all these plans, and then all those plans can go to hell in a second, and you have to rely on your wit and on your ability to improv. And it's a game of just intellectual acuteness of, you know, your DM and your players jumping back and forth and playing off each other. It's fun. It's really challenging.
Yeah, I would have to say that, talking about Stone Row, our card game, the one I would say catalyst moment I had was when we were demoing the game and I got to really see my in-laws playing the game that Amy and I had developed, and they were making memories as I stood in the back and watched them play. They were having emotions and bickering amongst themselves because of a game that I made and that Amy made. And that really was a slap in the face for me to go, I love doing this. And part of that adventure building is the same thing, where you write an interactive story that someone, even if it's just a couple hours out of their day, like they can love it or they can hate it. And as an artist, I've always struggled to find that missing link between me, the creator, and the effect I would have on the viewer or the person who would look at my drawing or listen to the music that I would do. Like, I never really felt a connection there. And writing and gaming are two things that I can directly influence the people who find my stuff interesting or hate it. And they can have a memory, like we have a memory with all these adventures. Like, they can have a memory. It's a really amazing, overwhelming thought that really drives me. That drives a lot of what I do, is that idea.
Absolutely. And who cares if they hate it? Just make them feel something. That's exactly what you're
Right.
saying, is make them feel something, make them interact, make them get out of their comfort zone, give them something new that they've never felt before, a power, a experience. And man, that is an awesome, awesome feeling.
Amy, I have a question for you. This is off the cuff, so you may hate it, but so what about, you haven't had much time to do this, I know, because I watch your struggles, but what about adventure writing is exciting compared to, what you do as a novelist or as a writer?
I think the concept of being able to create almost in 360 degrees. So if you think of a novel as a linear path, you're following one storyline, or even if you have a couple of plots going, you're following A, B, C, D, and you're going to end up at Z. But an adventure, you're looking at the whole world with that 360 degree view, and the players could go anywhere. They could go somewhere you never planned them to go, So you have to kind of be prepared to look at it with a bigger scope and a bigger eye. And that's something that I'm learning as we're writing adventures. And I find it really exciting because, we talk about building worlds with novels, but really adventure writing is truly that building a world, because you have to think in so many different directions. What was it you mentioned, Aaron, that 5x5 concept?
Yeah, the five, and I think this is kind of the hot term in D&D adventure writing. I've been hearing this much. And once again, guys, if you're listening and you're a D&D veteran, we're pretty rookies at this, and that's okay. We're learning as we go. But 5x5, just getting 5 different implements of your story and going 5 deep in regards to options of where those all can lead, so you're not going down a linear path. Amy, you hit it right on the head, but that's kind of the bitch of this as well, right? Is that you don't know where your players are going to go. So you have an idea, but it's like, holy cow, how do I write infinite possibilities for this?
Yeah, and it's a bit overwhelming as a beginner adventure writer. I guess the good silver lining is there's a ton of wonderful resources out there, and we as Wheel of Cheese, as we go through this process, will try to share those with you and answer any questions. If we get past a roadblock, we kind of want to document that process and share it with everybody and show that, this is what we did to do this. As we found with Stone Row and the creation of a card game, that there was a lot of things that we could not have planned for, things that emotionally dealing with people, rejecting your game. That's a part of writing and creating, is that there's that chance somebody won't like it, but there's the flip side that somebody will, and you'll have a best fan. You'll have a Uber fan. Even if it's one, someone will like your stuff. And
I hope I get one of those after this podcast, actually.
You're going to have
he's intriguing. He's high energy.
Ooh. Yes, he can train me too.
So I'll ask, what part of this project, the Wheel of Cheese Writing Adventure, are you guys most excited to work on? Like, what aspect gets you most excited about it? I know, Aaron, you're doing a lot of different things. with your Wheel of Cheese adventure that Chris and I haven't really explored yet? So you've gone down a lot of different paths. Is there something you're most excited about doing?
I think just providing a few more resources for DMs. When I started, I watched a ton of YouTube videos and I got caught up on a few of the rules and things like that. I want to be extremely interactive. I'd like to do some YouTube tutorials as well. I think I might offer a bit of a different dynamic for starting DMs, but immersion is my game. Amy, you and I have talked about the history of D&D art and how we just got lost in looking through all the handbooks back in the day. I read the Arts and Arcana book for D&D, which is just kind of a artistic history. And oh my gosh, that book was fascinating. Just learning and going back about how Gary Gygax started all of this and basically how Wizards of the Coast kind of kicked him out of the company, but now he's this, revered person, within the D&D community. Wizards of the Coast didn't kick him out, but they went through some financial struggles and he ended up leaving the company before I think Wizards of the Coast bought them. So ups and downs, and then you look at your own struggles about creating adventures and you're like, wait a minute, everyone goes through this. Everyone goes through these hurdles and these obstacles, even great big multi-million-dollar companies.
Absolutely. And especially with, what's going on in our world right now, that's an added layer of stress and unprecedented change and hardship people have to go through. So, I think part of defining success, actually a large part of it, is just continuing to do what you do and look for completion. I'd say that's part of what I'm looking forward to most, is actually having a finished adventure that we created and just go, you know what, we worked really hard for this, love it or hate it, it's done, we did it.
Right.
And that to me is like the most rewarding place to be, as a creative person, like to finish something and have something tangible to show for it.
The journey is the gift, the journey is the gift. The destination is just kind of the frosting on the cake. But when you go through the process, you learn a lot about yourself and other people. Amy, I might have skirted your answer there a little bit. I'm sorry. I got caught up on Art and Arcana, and I'm not even sure if I answered what you were asking me.
No, I think what I got out of that was you were most excited to give people multiple outlets and maybe more than what we had when we were first doing.
Yes, thank you. Yep, multimedia, giving them some soundtracks for the adventures, giving them some amazing art that really lets them get deep into the adventure, maybe giving them some writing that it might not be the box text that D&D DMs are used to, where they read it to their players, but it might paint a more clear picture of what mood you're trying to set, and it might just spark their own creativity. I mean, you guys are really pro creators. You advocate for your creators. Hey, any way you guys want to create for us in this company, let us help you. That's amazing. I mean, we need more of that in the world.
Thank you. I think that's one thing that we've really tried to get behind, is that relationship that we have with other creators. We really try to support our first artist, Annika Brandau. We talk about her a lot, as well as the musician that we work with, Chad Canfield, on the great things that we've produced, or that he's produced for us.
Yep. We really, I think part of what we found is you have to find your tribe and the people that you can work with, the people that bring you up. There's a couple things I've heard, it's not something we think a lot about, but if you have some good news, you feel like you want to share it with everybody. But part of doing that wisely is you really should be careful who you share that with, because in the long run, that could come back to kind of degrade what you're trying to do. And I'm not saying that you just need a bunch of, smiley yes men around.
Yes, Matt. Yeah, right. But the vulnerability of putting that out there, or people that are not going to be advocating for your ideas and your mission, that can take its toll on you. Absolutely.
It can. And some of those people that are the closest to you, you can struggle with that, where you can assume that someone should be supportive of you, and maybe it's not what, not that they're not supportive, it's that
exactly
they don't quite get it, and you wanted them to. So
God, my parents don't know what the hell D&D is. So yes, man, amen. I got you on that one.
As much as we love, those people close,
yes, we do.
Sometimes it's just they can't support us in the way that we would like to be supported.
We had this conversation before, and you guys worded that very eloquently. Yes, dead on. No need to say any more on that one.
Right.
You
Moving along.
No, I'm just saying, you guys give very good advice on that aspect. I agree.
Thank you. Well, actually, I think that segues really nicely into my next question. What's the biggest struggle that you've had in creating this adventure so far?
Being new at it, thinking in my head, well, this will work because I understand it, but will the DM get it, or will the DM love it, or will they get as engrossed in this storyline as I'm getting at the writer? And to be honest, I'm not responsible for that. Of course, I want to be a resource for all these DMs, but the truth of the matter is that I keep going back to the word autonomy. That's what D&D is all about. Honestly, if a DM reads my adventure and they want to scrap the whole first act, or they want to redo the map because they don't like how I laid stuff out, cool, man, go for it. Or woman, go for it. Do your thing. Create something. I do that all the time. I'm like, oh, this part of the adventure sucked. I'm taking this out, or I'm adding this because it'll be cooler.
Yeah, I find myself doing that too. Sometimes, with a lot of stuff, web resources, TED Talks, you might listen to like 50% of it and be like, that's not at all speaking to me.
Right.
A little nugget of wisdom, and you just take that with you. And then before you know it, you've got a fairly good compendium of really useful nuggets that comprise your own book and D&D is really that way. You got to kind of play it a bit to realize what works for you. And it gives you the flexibility to do whatever you want.
Right. I think a higher level of thinking is taking those nuggets, as you're saying, and being able to synthesize new thought patterns and new processes with all that information, and then use it to your advantage. We're not on this earth to just regurgitate the same old facts that someone else stated. That's boring. Use it in your own way.
Yep. Absolutely.
And I would say, to answer that question for me is very similar. Designing this adventure has been overwhelming. And coming back to writing, I'm lucky because I have a writer in the house, and she's very patient and will read my stuff and give me honest.
You're lucky because she puts up with you, buddy.
I know. It's the zookeeper.
He gives me wheels of cheese occasionally.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I threw you off track there. I apologize. I'm a rude guest.
No, I just won't have you on again.
Oh, bummer. One shot. I'm done.
It'll be we can't make it any better, Aaron.
Oh, thank you guys. I've got a question for you guys if you have time to answer one for me.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
One of the things that I love working with you guys, and I don't know, I get warm and fuzzy with this, is that you guys are a married couple and you are so supportive of each other. That just makes me feel really good that you guys always uplift and you always advocate for one another. What's it like? I'm going to ask Amy first, and then we'll go to you, Chris. Working with your spouse. I think that would be a really unique working dynamic.
Yeah, it really is, and I think it took me a while to be comfortable enough to share the things I created with Chris because of those reasons. You just never know. You're being really vulnerable when you share something that you've created with another person. And
sure,
of course, he and we've been together for so many years now. I'm quite comfortable sharing what I create with him. And he's been my biggest supporter and my biggest champion and cheerleader. And when I'm sort of shy to tell people what I do, he's the first person to step in and go, well, we'll be at a group of people, and you go, she's a writer. Did you know she's a writer? She's going to have a book out soon.
I love that.
Kind of
I love that. That's awesome.
A little bit of tough love,
Yeah.
So for me, it's really been fantastic because I feel like I'm on solid ground when we're together, and I'm more free to create and be myself. So it's been fantastic, really.
That's a beautiful aspect of a relationship. I like that.
I don't know if I can top that. That's pretty good.
Sorry, buddy.
No, I'd say a lot of the same. It's really amazing to have somebody so supportive of you so close. And one of the things that we've discovered even in the last couple of years is the fact that we creatively work together well. It's not that just we work together as a married couple, and we come together around our kids and our family, and form a united front against the evils of the world. Like we really, I feel like Amy's the other half of my brain. Like I have a lot of, me, Aaron, I'm a bit chaotic and emotional, and she really helps me harness some of that stuff. Some of this writing, I don't feel like I could really produce a super refined quality piece of writing without Amy. And in the sense that it's a little bit of confidence too. Like Amy spoke to, having a supporter so close, which the flip side is that is that you come to expect that out of other people, which is completely unrealistic. So
sure. High expectations from strangers, and it doesn't happen.
So when we started working together, Aaron, like a lot of it was like what we'd always say: expectations. What are your expectations? Blah blah blah. You probably got sick of hearing it, but that's really what we've learned, is that we really value everybody's opinion, and especially you being a friend. Like we didn't want to sully any of that. So we really wanted to know everybody's expectations, because we know that working together, some days we can read each other's minds. It's creepy. So, I don't expect that of other people, but sometimes you can lose sight of that. And, you don't want to put that burden on someone else you're trying to work with creatively and expect them to do those things that your spouse might do. But, I think it's great. I'm super excited to work with Amy and you, Aaron, and I think what we got going on here right now, we should take a moment and go, this is pretty cool. No matter what happens at this point, it's pretty damn cool.
Absolutely. It's some magic. Yeah.
Right. I would say if I had to liken our relationship working together to anything, it would be like a buddy cop comedy movie, and which is that's exactly,
there are handcuffs.
Exactly what I've always wanted. So
yeah, it's fun.
Good.
Thank you for asking that, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that's unique. And I think when you see that behind the scenes in regards to awesome creativity, don't lose sight of the people aspect of there's someone behind the computer and the pen and paper, and they're putting their dreams out. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't be critical. Everyone has the right to be critical or to give constructive feedback. But I think if anything, it makes people say, wow, they're doing something that they love. When you guys first told me about Stone Row and about working together with that, I wanted to back the project just because of the reasons why you were doing it. I wanted to back a friend. I wanted to back a couple that was doing something that they enjoyed to do and taking a risk to put themselves out there outside of a conventional occupation. And man, that takes guts. Like there needs to be more couples like you guys in the world. So
thank you very much.
Yes.
Yeah, you bet.
I don't want to make it sound like it's always fabulous and roses and Chris and I are just starry-eyed all the time either. I want to put a little bit of realism out there.
Right.
Because even though we're super supportive and we work together well, working together as a couple means that we are always working.
Right.
So we have found that we don't have we just sit back and play games together. We don't sit back and watch movies like we used to.
It's really easy to lose sight of that goes away really quick. And we found that with Stone Row, it was like everything was a convention. Everything I would get home from work and it'd be like, what are we doing with Stone Row? And then before you know it, you're like, what did we do with the kids this week? And it's like, well, they're old enough to be kind of autonomous, minus Hanukkah. But yeah, you need to be kind of really perceptive and introspective of your own life and go, okay, that's enough. That can wait.
Right.
We realize when your business is getting in the way of just being a couple.
Yeah. We need to put Stone Row work partner relationship away tonight and be married couple. Let's go on a date night or let's go spend some quality time together. Yeah.
So we're not always talking shop, which I think we found we do a lot.
Because you're excited about it. You get
absolutely.
About it. And as like, you're super into it and you're working on it all the time. And, sometimes you do need a break.
Right. But at the same time too, it's a boon that you guys are both passionate about the same nerdy things, that each other are. So you have that sounding board and it's not like Amy is listening to you, quote all this D&D stuff and rolling her eyes and just saying, "Oh my God, shut up," she gets just as excited as you do.
Yeah, it wouldn't work that way. Then you really need to be seeing eye to eye on a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I hear that. That hits home for sure.
Our nerdiness compounds and we join together to make one super nerd.
Yes.
Oh my God, we're forming like Voltron. That is so awesome.
That's bad you say that, because I said that. Weren't we in the car? I said something about Voltron, and everybody looks at me stupid because they don't know who that is. And
who cares, man? We're doing our own thing. We're living our best life.
Yeah. So, I think we're going to wrap up the podcast, but we want to share the exciting project that we're working on, or going to be working, this next week, Monday, correct?
Yeah, coming up next Monday. See if I've got a date for that. Is that the 11th?
I'm excited.
Yeah, the 11th. So starting the 11th, we're going to start something that all of us are super excited, and it's going to include all of the fans and listeners too. So you guys are going to be a part of this.
Yes, we're going to need your help, fans and listeners, for this to work. Otherwise, it's not going to work. So it's going to be interactive, basically, kind of. I don't want to say.
Is it trademarked? Can we say?
I think we can say choose your own adventure, but it'll be
choose your own path.
An interactive listener character-driven story. Didn't that what we said?
I think
character-driven community-generated story.
That's tough. Okay, got it.
Now that you're adequately confused,
I can't restate that. That's for sure.
It will be similar but not exact to a choose your own adventure with a D&D theme. It'll also be informative for people who have not played the game before, to kind of let them know what it's all about, a little bit of where you start, kind of what to expect when you flow through a little adventure, some of your choices. So your choices will be reduced, obviously. You can't just choose anything. But we'll be writing certain scenarios for you, the listener, to vote on. And then based on that vote, we will give you a different version of the story. And this story will continue for 5 days. And then at the 5th day, we will have the end of the story. And there's a few things that can happen, and there's danger.
Oh, keep your characters alive out there, people. Keep your characters alive.
Yep.
Chris and Amy, could you guys tell our listeners what platform this will be on, so they can find this after they listen to the podcast?
Absolutely. So depending upon where you're listening right now, you'll have to follow along on our Facebook page. We have a Wheel of Cheese Facebook page, and every day we're going to be posting a little bit of the story. You'll be able to enter in your choice on the poll on the Facebook page, and then the next day we'll have more of the story to continue. And you'll get to hear a little bit of both Aaron, Chris, and myself. We'll all be writing pieces of it, so you get to see some of our style as well.
Yep. So we're planning on starting to invite people to the page to like, and you can come to the page. We will include a link on the bottom of this podcast to let you know where to go and check it out. If you want to go there on your own and like it, we would be more than happy. But we will, just so you know, it's pretty bare right now, but we're working on getting some content up there. And again, beginning of next week, the 11th, we will start our not choose your own adventure, community-driven adventure that Amy and Aaron and I have written.
I heard that I heard through the grapevine that there may be a barbarian character that was maybe modeled after me. Is that true?
Yeah, he does a couple push-ups in between every decision.
Woo, keep that strength buff up, my people. Keep it up.
Yep. Staying fit while he's getting the gold pieces.
That's right.
Get those burpees.
Right. Well, I think that's all we had for today, unless anybody's got anything else to add.
No, I'm good. You, Aaron?
No, guys, but thank you so much for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you for accepting, man. It's been a pleasure.
Always. You bet.